Good Wednesday evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Let's Talk Live on the LTL Media channel. It is October 16th, 2024. Doing a little double duty today. I had a live stream earlier today around 3 p.m. I released my FOIA request via the Mass State Police. We had an answer. And funny enough, while I was actually revealing that online, Todd McGhee was actually in my chat. And it was funny, and I'm going to bring him up here in a second. We're going to talk about this, but I thought it was funny that, everybody was like, Todd McGhee's been quiet lately, Todd McGhee. And then all of a sudden he pops up in the chat and everybody was like, oh, hey. And I left that live. I left the studio, and on my way home, I said, hey, it was, I texted him. I said, hey, it was really great to have in the chat today. We should catch up soon. He said, sooner the better. I went, well, how about tonight? We'll do 8 p.m. and we'll talk about Trooper Garcia and the latest updates. So I won't wait too much longer. Let me bring him in here and we can get kicking off with the show. Todd McGhee joining the show, a friend of the show and a longtime viewer. How's things? Welcome.
We're good. We're good. Everything's going well. Great job on your FOIA request, and gives us a reason to talk tonight. So amongst other things, but I'm glad to be here.
We got to try. I mean, I knew the result, Todd. Let's be honest. I knew the result. I've reached out to Dave Myers, the special investigator for Trooper Garcia. I FOIA'd the state police. I knew my typical answer that I was going to get, but maybe we get a little something. And I seem that we got something, and we'll get into that a little later in the show. But I'd like to opine on that with you. But it was funny because, like I was saying earlier, around 3 p.m., I did the release this afternoon. Everybody was kind of like, well, Todd McGhee's been kind of quiet, Todd McGhee. And then all of a sudden, here you are. And I did not plan that at all. You popped in the chat, and everybody, the tone changed really quick. I mean, oh, hey, Todd, how are you? And you were like, you know what? I want to speak. I want to get on and talk about, what's been going on. So I said, well, let's do it tonight. And here we are.
Yeah, it's a process, and let's kind of peel back some of the layers tonight on the process. But again, I don't hide. I'm here. I'm watching. I'm monitoring. I've been very clear, Brian, that I've got more questions than answers myself. But I stay in this framework and this posture, and I want to share with your viewers why.
Mm-hmm.
I shared on the last time when I was in your studio. I shared that I actually work on cases with attorneys. These cases are police misconduct cases.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm advocating on behalf of the police officer with an excessive force claims, and other times I'm working on behalf of the plaintiffs, civilians that have been roughed up by the police. There's been a claim of excessive force, and I work with attorneys. Attorneys hire people like me to bring subject matter expertise in to help frame an expert opinion based on training, experience, my career, in order to shed some type of light on the conduct of the police officer during those encounters. The posture I take on your channel and other channels, I'm Switzerland. I stay neutral. Yeah. The reason why I do that is that if I then over speculate and go down a rabbit trail, the other side, the other attorneys, could use the video platforms that, by the way, very public platforms, to impeach me.
Yeah.
So I use the analogy, Brian, you're pulled over, tail light out. You didn't use your blinker when you switched lanes. You're pulled over. Police officer asks you for your license and registration. You demand that you want to know why you were pulled over.
Sure.
The scenario escalates. You're placed under arrest, perhaps under some type of fictitious charges. You go to court, the charges are then thrown out. A year later, you still have nerve damage and you have a wrist that doesn't function anymore because the handcuffs are too tight. You're going to sue, right? So if I now come in and there's video of me taking a position that appears to be biased, and we went through this about bias policing in the Karen Reed trial.
Yep.
The attorneys will use that to impeach me. So now I'm no longer there to support you in your claim because I have presented myself as a biased witness. So I need to be very careful when I join these platforms. I'm
Mhm.
happy to.
I
I
make
have
yeah.
unique insight, but there's another side of my professional life where I'm helping people, whether it's a civilian or whether it's a police officer. What's right is right, and that's the position I'm going to stand on.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your openness and transparency about that. And I've always respected that when you come on my platform. I said Todd's going to be down the middle, and you have, I've seen a lot of things in just the Karen Reed case and the information that have come out. You've been a lot more vocal about it lately, where I've seen you much more reserved. But I think that you wait for things to come out, facts, investigative processes. You make your own determination, and then you'll come out and make a statement. And I admire that about you, where, I jump, I jump. If something doesn't look right, I have, because I don't work with any of the agencies like you do. I'm not in any type of, law enforcement work. So I have a little bit more of a freer voice to kind of go out there and say things. And we jump on it and we talk about it. And that's what we do in these public forums. And that's what I love about it. But, I was saying earlier, to bring an expert in, kind of buckle us down a little bit and give us from that side and that perspective, I respect that. So like I said, I appreciate you being here. I really do.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you as always. You're a gracious host for bringing me on. And what I hope for your viewers is just being able to help shed some light on the process.
Yeah.
And you've got some things that you want to cover tonight, so let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to do this really quick before we start. You know what? Actually, before we go and in talking about an arrest, maybe you can help me out with this. So there's another case that I follow, the Idaho 4 case. And in that case file, the said suspect that's now in jail, Brian Koberger, in his report, in his affidavit, it said that he was pulled over and detained. Can you describe what scenarios of detained would be?
So when a police officer makes an initial stop, they're going to go through just kind of a routine approach, right? Typical license registration. This is why you were stopped. Based on the information that most likely the officers that pulled him over, they probably ran his record, and there was probably some information that came up unbeknownst to them prior to them searching, doing a search query. Based on that, and wanting to sort out those circumstances, there would be a period of time of detainment before an actual arrest. Now, in order for that to happen, there needs to be reasonable suspicion. You need probable cause, which is a higher level according to the Fourth Amendment of our Constitution. You need a higher level in order to actually arrest somebody. You can't arrest somebody on reasonable suspicion, but you can arrest somebody on probable cause. So sorting through those factors or whatever those circumstances were evolving around the case, that period of time of detention was probably the first layer or second layer of the stop. First you have the stop, then you have the detention, and then ultimately the arrest once they establish probable cause.
When you're detained, are you cuffed or are you just not free? Like, or can a police officer just say, look, you're detained at this moment, you're not free to go? That means that you can't drive away, or are they cuffing you? Is it just in different scenarios?
So part of it is a practice. It depends on the scenario. I've seen both. I've done both. Sometimes you cuff someone because you don't want them to hurt you or themselves. Maybe there's a gun in the car, right? That absolutely means that someone's going to be cuffed until they sort things out. It doesn't mean that the gun is illegal, but you have to investigate that. You've got to do those queries, and you have to go to databases to confirm or establish what that in that hypothetical, what that scenario is with that person's possession of the firearm. So there's other things where people are unlicensed and they're driving. You've got to query a DMV database in order to sort through what's the reason. Are they just driving without a license? They've never had a license, or are they actually suspended? If they're suspended, is there a warrant? If there's a warrant, you've got to go through and you have to research. Has the warrant been cleared? Is it still an open warrant? So these things take time, but they happen at the time of the stop.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, because that has been something that has been boggling my mind in another case, but I appreciate that. I appreciate opining on that. Let me just bring this up really quick, and this is a great question, I think, to when we start off the show. It says, Todd, have you ever been asked to opine on a case that you do not believe in, like what was right, what was wrong? So in that situation, do you accept or decline the job?
I've always taken a job first and foremost. In the case where there's been a complaint, and I'll give you two scenarios. In the case where there's a complaint, I'll give you an actual one. I opined on the case, but I wasn't hired as a subject matter expert. Here's the scenario. Two police officers were involved. This is a Massachusetts case. They were involved in arresting an individual. One of the police officers used their taser, and one of the probes actually struck the arrestee in the eye. So having trained in understanding tasers, once the tasers leave the cartridge at the end of the taser, they separate. The farther they go out, they start to separate. So it's two barbs, and as they move towards the target, they start to separate. One of them hit the arrestee in the eye.
Wow.
Tragedy, but not intentional. And that's the difference. And so, based on that scenario, I said, this is something where the municipality, the city should settle out of court. It's a bad situation, but it wasn't something that was intentionally done by the police officer. It was just a worst case scenario. In that particular case, I'm happy to give an opinion. To say it's off the record is not the right term, but I'm happy to give opinion to just help the attorney, help the defendant move on and try and settle whatever matter is before the court. Another scenario, I was defending a police officer, and the plaintiff was in a bar fight. The police officer was on a bar job and had used his baton and had struck both of the combatants 2 times in the upper thigh. Textbook, that's the way it's supposed to be done. The plaintiff said that he was beaten by the police officer. And I said this on your podcast before, Brian, I always wait for the medical records. And here's why. None of the medical records matched the plaintiff's position. So why would I not defend that police officer? He testified that he gave 2 strikes to both defendants, and guess what the medical records show? 2 large bruises in the upper thigh. Right. So you have to wait on these matters, and there's always different sides of the story, but the most unbiased story comes from the medical records. So I'm hoping Attorney Myers, in the case of Trooper Garcia, I'm really waiting for that information. I don't know what he's going to release. None of us do. But once we at least have his report, there'll be some information there and some data collected that we'll be able to analyze and be able to peel back the layers on.
Yeah, thank you. And before we get a little bit further into Trooper Garcia, I just wanted to kind of open, the show a little bit about, there was some Karen Reed news today, and I'd love to have you talk about the ACLU. We've heard now they have stepped in and filed some motions, but I wanted to put this tweet out there. This is from Mark Betterow, and just to make people aware, and this is what Mark Betterow is saying, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, because we were talking about this. So, oh boy, I just lost it. Hang on one second. Let me just get my screen up. Good old Twitter. It always likes to refresh when you don't want it to. Let's see. Betterow Law. There we go. Because I know a lot of people are buzzing about this right now. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's bring this up again. Sorry about that, folks. It happens. It's show business. Okay. So Mark Betterow, and I just did it again. Dang it. Okay. Buzzkill this is Mark Betterow. Buzzkill warning. Amicus beliefs that are very common in appellate practices, including those from the ACLU. Better to have them for you than against you, but I would not assume a favorable ruling is more likely merely because one has been filed in support. Tell us about the ACLU. We were talking a little bit about attorneys what the ACLU actually does, and if you want to just describe that a little bit.
Yeah, we were talking offline.
Yeah.
That attorney we couldn't think of the name was Ben Crump, who
Yeah. Yes.
provides a lot of litigation support for some of the wrongful death lawsuits, especially in the Black community.
Yep.
He is a high-profile guy. He likes the cameras. I believe he does a good portion of his litigation in the public eye, as opposed in the courtroom. The ACLU takes a different tact. The ACLU, they'll make public record, but there'll be a lot more done behind the scenes with their support. And, also specifically around civil rights violations, they're experts at it. And they're going to be the ones that, if Karen Reed's civil rights have been violated, you want them weighing in on those different circumstances. So
yeah.
Interesting to see that they've come in this late into the game. So there's a lot more there that will come, I'm sure, in the near future. But definitely interesting position with them now being involved.
So you're surprised they came in so late. You thought they would have come in a lot earlier.
Yeah. And again, early meaning at the end of the decision,
right.
when Judge Canoni declared a mistrial. So they had to have been watching, right, all along. So the 9 weeks or so. So I thought they would, if they were going to come in, I thought they would have come in sooner, but here they are. Again, positioned well before the January 2nd trial. So again, the other information that was just recently released was new software updates by Lexis with more information, hopefully that can read the computer and shed some more light. So looking forward to hearing that data as well.
Yeah, and that's even if the trial happens in January, because this could be kicked out. It could be kicked out. So I always tell people, don't get set when they say that first trial date's going to happen, because we've seen this in Idaho. I mean, that trial is the Idaho 4 case that's been moved like 4 times, and now it's been moved out to Ida County, which is next to Boise. So it's a whole new change of venue. It slowed that completely down again. And now we're not going to, supposedly, this new judge set it for August 11, 2025. I mean, this is almost dragged out well beyond 2 years now. So it's like, come on, like, let's get to this. And that's going to be a 3-month trial. So that's going to be a long trial for people, but hopefully it does start in August. We can start getting some justice, hopefully, for those families, because they've been waiting a long time. Terrible, terrible case. So let's get into just talking about all the most recent updates in Garcia's case. I just want to throw this out there just so people don't know. A little fun fact. The Massachusetts State Police has more than 3,000 employees and an annual operating budget of $500 million, according to Healy's office, making it the largest law enforcement agency in New England. So let's get into this. Todd, knowing the track record, the Mass State Police, especially, I would say, over the last 5 years, can we trust that we're going to get full transparency? Listen, I don't like what's going on so far. There's not a lot of answers. We're searching. I've FOIA'd. I get it. It's an ongoing investigation. We have David Meyer now, the special investigator. We know that his track record working out of the DA's office and being very close to the Mass State Police. I know a lot of our viewers take in the account of the Canton Police Department, Sandra Birchmore case, Karen Reed, all of that, the things that have been very funny, Trooper Proctor in these cases. Are we going to get full transparency here? Do you have confidence that we're going to get full transparency?
Yeah, Brian, we were talking offline about Attorney Meyer and why I believe, yes, to answer your question, we'll have the transparency that we're looking for. If folks can Google and go back 10 or so years to the crime lab scandal, the crime lab analyst, Annie Dukin, actually did jail time, federal jail time, as a result of that investigation. And so, not to mention just the misconduct there by a crime lab technician, but also the fact that there were hundreds of individuals that their convictions were overturned. Yeah. Right. So massive scandal, embarrassing to the state, should never have happened. So, his investigation revealed a tremendous amount of wrongdoing. And I believe that his integrity will follow through. I believe that his investigation will be thorough. I'm happy that it's not being left up to an internal affairs investigation, which is only an administrative process within any agency, within any police agency. So the fact that it's an outside player, I feel much better about this part of the process, given such a horrific tragedy for Enrique and his family. But I believe if there's going to be transparency and there's going to be some level of accountability, I believe Attorney Myers is the right person to bring that forward.
I mean, I guess you would. It has to be at this point. I mean, it has to be. The implications on the academy would be huge. I mean, this would be. I mean, if this wasn't put out in full transparency and with integrity in respect to the case, I mean, this would essentially probably foil the academy. I mean, you're sending recruits there, and this is a possibility of an incident that could happen, and then we're just supposed to shed this off and move on. I mean, it can't be this way, right, Todd?
There would be some massive implications, Brian, if there was some type of wrongdoing some wrongdoing that was discovered. Additionally, even if, and again, hypothetical, let's just say there isn't any wrongdoing, there's still going to be changes done. There has to be, right? You had a death, an unattended death, something where you had a recruit in the prime of his life, healthy, made it through 20 weeks of training, ready for graduation. So, and I've shared with you that I have more questions myself than answers. I initially looking at what we know the injuries are to that have been reported right now are not consistent fully with boxing injuries. So that's why I'm waiting for the medical report. That's why I'm so waiting, with bated breath here to see what Attorney Myers is going to bring forward for us to be able to have some information to be able to analyze. So a lot of information that's on the way. I really appreciate your efforts with establishing a FOIA request, and I think it helps your viewers understand the different layers of the process. So I know I don't want to get ahead of you, but I know there's some things there we'll talk about, which I think is important for your viewers to understand.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I mean, full transparency. I told everybody on when I was doing these lives that don't expect that we're going to get this groundbreaking news. But my whole process and my whole theory on it is, as a citizen, okay, I have every right under the law to do that, to send out a FOIA request and ask questions. I have every right to do that. I know that I'm not going to get the answers that I want, but it at least allows the organizations and the investigators involved in this, that we as citizens of Massachusetts take this very, very seriously. This is a young man, like you said, in the prime of his life, that from what I'm understanding and learning about him, was a very good guy, a hard worker, physical enough to do this job, would have done it with integrity, probably had a long, prosperous career. We don't want this to happen to our recruits and candidates going forward. This should never, if this is criminal, it can never happen again. And, I look at it as, if there's a person or people that are involved, they need to be prosecuted fully to the extent of the law and made an example of.
And I think, Brian, for any wrongdoing, any misconduct that may be revealed by Attorney Meyer, that's not going to be the end of it, right? That investigation is one step in the process. I still think that you might see maybe some outside investigation coming in from DOJ if there's any type of wrongdoing, because to your point, if there is something criminal in nature, there'll be charges brought. So we need to wait for that information. But again, it's good that the Commonwealth knows that citizenry is watching and paying attention.
Yeah. And I make it very, very evident on Twitter every day when Maura Healey tweets out something, and I always respond back to her and say, Can you let us know what happened to Trooper Garcia? I mean, it's almost like clockwork because I want them to know that we are watching and you know, we're upset. We don't want this to happen. It shouldn't happen. Let me just take this $5 super chat and maybe we both can to talk about this. Hotel Delta, thank you so much for the 5. It says, Brian, how quick do you think the investigation should take? Todd, will you tell Todd will tell you these things take time. Well, and they do take time. I want it to take as long as it should to get the correct processes, the correct, if there's witnesses, the correct information. You know, listen, we're antsy. We are all antsy, knowing the track record, like I said, of Mass State Police, especially over the last 5 years. I want answers and I want them quick. But sometimes it doesn't happen that way. So hopefully soon, hopefully we start getting some light shed here soon. And, you know, like Todd was saying that, you know, not only David Meyer is going to be involved in this, but you possibly could see the DOJ stepping in. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do. What do you think, Todd? You think, you know, I don't want to put a time limit on it, but how long do these things usually take?
Yeah, quick isn't the word that we're going to land on here. So again, let's peel back the layers so your audience kind of has a little bit more depth of information. Approximately 1,200 hours of actual training curriculum is what the state police provide over the 6-month academy. So you have to look at you have to examine all of the physical training. You have to examine health records from the medical unit. Then you have to make sure that it's been consistent to all whatever 100 or so recruits are in the training academy. You also have to examine the off time, the time. The investigation will also go into when the recruits are done with their training day. From that, I think it's 8 p.m. is when they're on their own time. There's a certain amount of time given to prepare for the next day, and then they shut the lights out. And then I believe roll call starts at like 5. They're up at 5, and then they're ready in first platoon by 5:30 a.m. So that ready for PT, right? So every morning there's PT. Right. If it's inclement weather, then they're inside. They'll do training inside. And so the medical unit monitors all of those different aspects. So if there's ice around the track, they're not going to run. It's dangerous. If it's too cold, if it's too hot, right? The medical unit will give an update to the drill instructor staff every day. So all of these elements have to be investigated. All of these nuances, David Meyer has to be able to peel back these individual isolated components of training. And so that's where a thorough investigation is going to come in place.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what I keep hearing too, and I'll bring this up. You know, the state police investigating themselves. What's going on? You know,
but they're not.
Okay, I'm going to probably disagree a little bit with you here. The thing that kind of worries me a little bit is knowing that David Meyer has ties to the DA's office, worked with the DA for a very long time. Who do they work beside? Who do they take cases on? The state police. They work with the state police, you know, and that's why I ask, you know, in your opinion, you know, are we going to get full transparency here? You know, this worries people, Todd. As I'm saying, this worries me. It worries my viewers. We don't want this swept under the rug. It can't. It just can't be.
So as I shared earlier, if this was a internal affairs investigation and administrative, it would be insufficient in an insufficient investigation. This is outside counsel. Outside counsel comes in certain special circumstances, which this is one of, and they'll investigate, just like the crime lab scandal. Someone went to jail in that scandal. That was not glossed over. That was not something that was kicked, the can kicked down the road. That was thoroughly done. That had a significant impact to the criminal justice system here in Massachusetts. So that's why I say the state police is not investigating itself. Let's separate where the state police would have its role and where it doesn't have its role in this particular case.
Grant's Pants says, Todd is one of your best guests. I appreciate that. I really do. Let me get to this. Hotel Delta, another $5 says, Todd, do you think the Mass CJTC will take over the State Police Academy, one academy for whole state like New Hampshire and Vermont, etc.?
Let me give some historical context. When New Braintree was opened, the former State Police Academy was ran out of headquarters in Framingham. Under the Governor Weld administration, the campus of the State Police Academy was once a Seventh-day Adventist. It was like a camp and a school, but it was a religious institution. Somehow, somewhere along the way, it shut down, and it was slotted to be a jail. Voters in that district did not want a jail in their community, and so Governor Weld turned it into the State Police Training Academy. I'm giving you that background history because the Criminal Justice Training Council was supposed to have its own a dual office alongside the state police. I don't know what happened. I don't know what politics. I'm not privy to that on that level, but it became exclusively the Massachusetts State Police Academy, and the Mass Criminal Justice Training Council took office somewhere else. So that original plan was a shared plan at one time. I think the nuclear option, if there is some type of wrongdoing, is that the Criminal Justice Training Council takes over all police training, regardless of the agency. Healthcare facilities, which are licensed under the Colonel, under the Special State Police Officer Certification, colleges and universities, as well as municipal agencies, as well as Massport Police, as well as state police. You could see a nuclear option handle. And again, speculation, don't know if that's going to happen.
Sure.
But that could be a scenario on the table.
Yeah, let me just pull up these two comments and question. We got one question, one comment. So Mariko says, Commonwealth of Massachusetts. You know, this is how the public feels around here right now, Todd. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Massachusetts state troopers, and even some local law enforcement departments have all lost confidence from the public. So yeah, we can sound impatient. Terry says, how is an attorney an investigator? Shouldn't it be more like the FBI or a PI investigation? I personally, I would feel a little bit more comfortable the DOJ stepping in. But again, you know, you personally are saying, and we don't know, you're only speculating, but you're saying that it is a possibility that they could step in if probably there's more there. I could see that.
So let's play this out. This is a great question. And going back to the previous question,
sure,
I get it. There's misconduct everywhere. I'm not happy about it. Your channel is very transparent. You bring this analysis forward. I've been outspoken, not just about this particular case with Enrique Delgado-Garcia, but Karen Reed and other. I spoke about the Sonia Massey case, right? I've done podcasts on the wrongdoing there. Thugs with badges is the terminology I use. So I'm comfortable speaking out on police misconduct. That's not the issue. The issue is, again, trying to gain the public trust. The challenge there is, to your point again, Brian, is what is the level of transparency?
Yeah.
If we get a level of transparency, then people can say, okay, well, the situation, it happened, it's bad, but I feel better at least that it seems like all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted. Regarding the other question, we have to first find out what happened. In the event that there's any type of misconduct, then at that point, I'm pretty confident you're going to see some type of law enforcement investigation then take place, right? So again, it's the stages. And in this particular case, it's not Attorney Meyer's place to bring charges. He's a fact finder. That's the difference that people have to understand. If there's some type of misconduct, the next phase of that, you'll see some other law enforcement investigation take place.
Yeah, and I just pulled this up. Scott, great guy, channel moderator, member. I've gotten to personally know him outside the Karen Reed through the Karen Reed trial. We spent many times out on that sidewalk rallying for Karen Reed. Scott says, Todd has impressed me with how much he has said. He could be far less outspoken, playing it real safe. So, and I love that too, that Todd comes out here and does this. And I told him, off air, he's been a very big contributor to what I've done here. He's elevated my platform, and I always enjoy his expertise because he's done this. He's the guy. He was involved in the training exercises at Mass State Police. He's a veteran trooper, and he has his private business now doing consulting and still in the law enforcement field. So I respect him, and I respect his his opinions. So just want to pull this up.
As a reminder to your viewers, I ran the program for 10 of my 24 years. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to mince words. I'm happy. You haven't given me softball questions on past interviews. I'm not looking for softball questions in the interviews. I play it safe because in the future, I don't want an attorney to try to impeach my testimony when I'm providing subject matter expert witness in the form of a deposition, a trial before judge and jury, or even just an opinion report. So if it appears that I'm playing it safe, it's for those reasons.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. I mean, you have your own legal requirements with the cases that you work in, and I can respect that. But I like I said, I love the fact that you will come on and you're the type of person that you're just going to say it like it is in your own way and give back to the audience. Some people may not like that. You're not so open and like, I know what I'm going to get with you as a guest. And like I said, I respect it. And that's why I have you on my show. Let me just do this really quick. Miss Jones, AKA Dakota Jones, thank you so much for becoming a new YouTube member. And speaking of not softball question, I'm going to throw another one at you here, Todd. So we had Colonel Noble that has been sworn in as the new Massachusetts State Police Colonel. That was just before the graduation. And given, his record, I just want to read a little bit here. Published reports state that he has been a target of at least 4 discrimination complaints during his tenure in the Garden State. Those complaints claimed he bypassed qualified candidates as of color, women, and LGBTQ individuals for promotions. Can we really trust this guy to head up the department with the integrity, transparency, and make sure that we're putting all the correct candidates in the correct positions to do their job correctly? And that's a lot of corrects, but I'll let you answer me there.
Sure. In my private consulting, I've done work with the New Jersey State Police, but I can tell you that here in Massachusetts, it's a different animal. I can tell you that we have a very powerful union, and the union is going to watch, especially those promotions to those first level promotions for sergeant. I don't know any background about those different cases as far as the sexual misconduct allegations or the bypassing of promotions. But here in Massachusetts, there is a process for promotions for sergeants, lieutenants, captains. Majors and above are selection by the colonel. So there's not going to be too much pushback on senior levels of management. But between sergeant, lieutenant, captain, people are paying attention. Only sergeants are in the union. But again, there's a commission officers union that will also look and make sure that things are fair and equitable. I also feel that if there's any allegations of sexual misconduct here, it happens. I believe that it will be properly vetted. Not necessarily internally. I think that you're in a day and age where if an individual feels that there's been some type of a wrongdoing and a grievance and it's not being handled properly, people are very quick. Police officers are very quick to get attorneys, and they'll just handle it, with a form of litigation in some type of approach. But I don't know the New Jersey State Police, but knowing the beast here in Massachusetts, good, bad, or indifferent, despite the dark cloud that's over the agency, I think it's a different animal, and he'll have a different experience if any of those shortcomings are tried here within Mass State Police.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering that. I actually had a question that came in via text message. It says, receivership button sounds for the entire Mass State Police from the governor down to at very least the Norfolk DA's office. So that's a question. Then says a label of rogue agency is not a stretch. I don't know if you can talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I brought this up with Mark Betterow. He and I were doing a podcast together, and I said, Mark, you and I are the only ones talking about receivership. So, the potential. And that was during the Karen Reed trial because of the glaring misconduct that was happening. So, whether it's over, a municipal agency that's in trouble, or the Mass State Police that has, the dark cloud over it, receivership is another option that could be on the table.
Okay. And just real quick, Debbie's asking, are promotions based on testing?
Yes, testing happens. There's not just a recruit entrance exam. There's a sergeant's, lieutenant's, and captain's exam.
Okay.
And then there's different criteria that your time in rank, for management, for lieutenant and captain, you're interviewed for sergeant as well, but there's a different kind of process for the different ranks. And so there's different weight that happens with those different stages.
So Noble coming over, getting hired by Healy, would he have to go through any type of testing, or is it just more of like an interview process based on his credentials and his track record?
It's an appointment by the governor. That's an appointment by the governor.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So she kind of picked him and said he's going to be the guy based on his background, his training, his credentials, and she just goes forward and says, here it is. Got it.
Yes, I don't know the players, but there are a number of internal candidates, which traditionally has been the state police hiring process for the superintendent's office. Not surprised with to your point, Brian, what's been happening and transpiring over the last several years, that an outside hire was going to happen. So not surprised at all that Jeffrey Noble was hired.
Let me just get to this, and then we'll transition to the next part of the show here. So Bukaki's missing dentures. $10 says, my mom's heart hurts for Enrique's mother. I pray for the truth and justice and for her family and loss. Todd, thank you for your time and your valued experience. Thank you so much for that 10. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate your prayers, because it's very heartfelt here too. And I was saying to Todd earlier offline, and I hope you don't mind that I share this, that I said, this situation, or when these situations have come up, and knowing, getting to know you through my platform and having conversations offline, I said, my heart hurts for Todd as well too, because you're the guy, you've been in it, you've dedicated your life to the Mass State Police, and to see kind of this dark cloud that kind of continues, I said it's got to hurt him too, but it also frustrates him as well, because it's like, when I look at it, it's like, what is going on here? And I don't know if you get those same emotions and feelings, but I mean, something inside has to come out and just be like, what now?
Yeah, Brian, I'll share that in some of these different scandals. I mean, some of these people I've known for 30 years, they're friends. I'd call them friends. Bad decisions, they're going to be held accountable. But all of the scandals are preventable, and that's what bothers me the most. That when you have the responsibility from a training perspective, when you have the responsibility of hundreds of recruits, and they're listening to every single thing. It's old school, right? Paramilitary type of environment, in that you're moving people based on commands. You're responsible. And the crew that I had, I got to handpick, and we were responsible for them, and we looked after them. We challenged them. We made sure they were safe, but we challenged them, and they became better troopers because of the perspective and the way that we handled our business as defensive tactics instructors. We didn't want people to get hurt. That's not what the objective is. So you went out of your way to make sure that this is when we were doing baton training. First rule of baton: when you're partnered up with your partner, don't put your baton on the ground to create a slip and fall. Right? Yeah. First thing you do, okay, it's your turn. You go, Brian. I go next. Oh, let me get rid of this. You put it on the floor. Next thing you got a rolled ankle. Someone's going to be incapacitated for the next 4 weeks.
Smash their head.
right?
roll their ankle and smash
All
their
the
head.
above,
And
yeah.
fall back, right.
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
So you took the extra measuring care to make sure that everyone's going to have a safe training experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, all these missteps, it comes down to it's really leadership. Who is leading these training practices, or outside in the field, are supervisors doing their job correctly? And I would say, in my opinion, no. Aaron Reed case with Trooper Proctor, you had supervisors that were inside that chat as nasty conversations were going on about Karen, and there are superiors that are involved in that chat. So that's just telling you that, the leadership, in my opinion, is not following the policies, procedures, not shutting down this type of behavior, and they're actually, joining in on it and saying things as well. So, I mean, is this come in, we do a clear sweep, we start from scratch? Do we start disciplining within the department? Like, how do we clean this up? How do we fix it?
Yeah, all the above. First you have to do your fact finding. You have to find out what went wrong. You have to find out what areas were neglected, if any. And then from there, you start to roll back all of that information and start to readjust. And some of that readjustment means elimination. So we talked about the nuclear option. I from a training perspective, I hope that doesn't happen. Having been in that role, my heart is still there to some degree. But again, hard decisions are going to be made.
Mm. All right, Todd, what I'd like to do now in just kind of this portion of the show is I actually pulled up some training videos, and I'd love for your take on this, to maybe give the audience a visual concept of, is this very similar to what you did, or what the training is like in Mass State Police? I have some from the Alaskan State Troopers, their exercises, and then I actually found a police boxing gym, an academy out of St. Louis, and I'd love to kind of show those videos, and maybe you can compare and contrast versus what they do at the academy. So let me just pull up the Alaskan State Trooper, and this is via National Geographic. It's probably one of those shows on there where they follow them around through recruit training. And I've played this video before. The audience found it, really to give it some insight. But let's see here. And you're actually going to see a recruit. This is very interesting. You're going to see a recruit get popped pretty good in here. Bloody lip, bloody nose, and probably some possible slight concussion going on. But it shows the standard practice of recovery. And I'd love to have you talk a little bit about that. So let's play through this.
You can really simulate a whole lot of stress here if through physical exercise. We push them with various physical exercises to exertion, and then demand that they perform this drill for 1 minute.
Keep your gear uncovered. Come on, you two. Normal cartridge. You ready? All right. The middle three. Get in there. He's on the red light. It'll start when the whistle blows. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Then you're going to unleash hell.
Not give up. Keep fighting. And obviously, in law enforcement, they will be involved in physical altercations.
You gotta fight, Bob. You gotta fight. Come on, Hill. Let's throw you. Fight.
Do not give up. If you stop, he wins and you die.
Come on, Harris. Hit him. Protect yourself, Dad. Keep going, Comfort. You can do it. Keep going. Hit him in his head. It's you or him, Harmson. Get on your knees. Look at him and then hit him.
Keep fighting. Do not give up. Do not give up.
Hit him as hard as you can, Gay. Come on, Harris. Hit him with a good one, Harris. Do it. Hit him hard. Hit him hard.
Stand up.
It shows them that they have the ability to get hit in the head, to get hit in the stomach. It hurts. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to anybody, but they have the ability to drive on and keep going. In 1 minute is not a lot of time So it gives them a good idea of their physical fitness level as well.
What are good, sir?
Stop leaning against the wall. Just lean against the wall. You ever been hit in the head before?
Not hard, sir. No.
And not repeated, huh?
No, sir.
Okay, so that's a new event? All right. You just got to compartmentalize all that, keep it inside right now, and drive on, right?
Yes, sir.
Who do you work for?
Juneau Police Department, sir.
Yeah, do you think you're ever going to get hit in the head again?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're going to get hit in the head, okay? And you're going to have to learn how to just drive on and stay with it. Stay in the game.
Yes, sir.
Can you do that for me?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's 103 days long, and this was only day 3.
Day 3. Wow.
It's a long way to go.
Todd, I'll let you speak to that.
Brian, there's about a dozen things that I just saw that we would never do.
Oh, interesting. Wow. I'm shocked.
Let me start with, did I hear correctly that was day 3?
That was day 3.
So first and foremost, the recruits do not have any boxing until phase 3, which is at the end of the State Police Academy. Phase 3, they've developed discipline. They're in the best shape of their life. You don't know what this kid's physical conditioning is. He was traumatized. That kid was traumatized.
Let's do this. I'm going to go back to that section. Let's just make sure we're correct if he said day 3, okay? Let's just do that, okay? And maybe he did say phase 3. I don't know, but it sounded like day 3 to me. Wow. Let me just go back here and find that. Of course, I shut it down. I got to go back to it. All right, I think I got it.
So, why are you trying to cue that up? I heard day 3. It's a long way to go.
Day 3. Okay, let's play it here again.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're going to get hit in the head, okay? And you're going to have to learn how to just drive on and stay with it. Stay in the game.
Yes, sir.
Can you do that for me?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's 103 days long, and this was only day 3. So
This was only day 3.
Absolutely not. We
Wow.
do not put our recruits in that type of a situation that early in the academy. Here's the next thing. They would never be in a position where they're on their knees. Not saying it can't happen, but you want them in the most natural state to have training relevance. Next thing, to have them positioned where it's constant impact to the head, that's more dangerous than having a regular standing
Yeah.
competition, right?
Right.
Or a standing bout, right? Because it's constant, constant impact to the head. Also, hit them as hard as you can. That's not the objective. I got a huge problem with that program.
Wow. Yeah, let me
Those are-
show. Go ahead, Todd. I'm sorry.
But besides the protective gear, not one of those objectives, I can't even call them objectives, not one of those procedures or protocols would be allowed into the state police. At least when I was running it, would not allow it to happen.
Yeah, and again, a viewer's pointing out that was for National Geographic. It was for entertainment. So could it be, let's speed these guys up. Let's show them some of the physical boxing training to get it on camera. I mean, I don't know necessarily how their program runs. I mean, this could be the way it naturally does it, or was it done for the cameras? I don't know. But day 3, even if you're just even showing the public that and saying that this is day 3, Todd doesn't agree.
What? If it's day 3 and in the news, National Geographic shows up in the academy grounds, I've got a dozen other things I could show you what the recruits do. We're not going to put them through a boxing contest.
Interesting. $10. Bukaki's Miss Teeth says, do women have the same boxing and training? If so, is it against other men, women? Can you explain that? Just curious.
Nope, genders stay with genders. There's no men on women type of matchups. Part of the controls that I put in was that equal weight, size, and skill. Those were the controls that I had in place. Also, as a reminder, we on occasion had amateur boxers come through that had Golden Glove experience. They were not allowed to compete.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you talking about that before. Let's show this. This is from the St. Louis Police Department, and it's St. Louis County and Municipal Police Academy. Now, I'm seeing a ring. We're going to see protective gear. This is more of maybe the training style that you were talking about. This is day 101. See, this is day 101, Todd, and they're boxing at day 101. Not day 3. This is day 101, and this is probably a little bit closer to what you're talking about. I'm not going to play the sound because there's a lot of music, and I might get bumped for that. But it's about a 45-second video. Let's play through this and see what you think on this training exercise. Oof, that guy popped.
Yep. So Brian, I can start with the actual. You had a question about the ring.
Yeah.
When I was there, we had a wrestling mat. We had a massive wrestling mat. It would take a good 10, 15 people to roll the mat out. And that's what we trained on. And then we would do the boxing event exercises on top of the mat. From there, a boxing ring was brought into the Mass State Police Academy, but was since removed. And the reason was, out of the training hours allocated to boxing, again, you got to go back to objectives. If it has feathers, it quacks, and it walks like a duck, it's a duck, right? So if you get a boxing ring and you're allocating drills that are consistent in duration with boxing, then you're training boxing. And that's not the objective. So the boxing ring was removed. This is my understanding. I had implemented 1 2-minute round when I was running the program, and that changed to 2 1-minute rounds. But I think it's gone back and forth depending on the different classes. But again, the optics of having a boxing ring, they removed the ring to make sure that they weren't shifting their focus towards more of a boxing element than the defensive tactics element.
So if we go back to the first video that we referenced, not sitting on their knees, they would probably be more in a standing position because they were on a wrestling mat in that first video, a wrestling style mat like that, standing position. Are they being held like they were in that first video? They are. And what is the purpose of that, Todd?
It looked as if they were trying to stabilize them because they were in a kneeling position. I just disagree with that whole protocol. It was clumsy. It's awkward. The objectives weren't there. Hit them as hard as you can. That's not what you're coaching your trainees to do. The constant battering to the head, that's where injuries come in.
Yeah.
And again, I'm minimizing or being insensitive to Enrique's situation.
Sure.
But you'll get more injuries that way than you will the way we do it at the State Police Academy.
Of course. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for letting us know about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If you can remember concussion protocol, even in the NFL, let's say it's not the one big hit, it's the repetitive hits.
Yeah.
That's what contributes to TBI.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So I FOIA'd the Mass State Police today. I want to bring this up and maybe we can talk a little bit about this. I found the most interesting aspect of the email that I got in response was here in this blue section that I've circled here, and it says, I have my long response here. They quoted some case law. I'd love to have a lawyer look over this and kind of tell. Essentially, I think at the end of the day, because it's going to be a HIPAA violation, we're not going to get any type of answer. But I found this to be interesting, where it said portions of the video potentially responsive to your request depicts Trooper Delgado having a medical episode and shows the medical response. Information which specifies the nature of the individual's medical condition is inherently impersonal in nature. And then they cite a case law here from 1987. Moreover, the individual's privacy interest in medical information survives death. And then they quote another case law here from 1989. Given the fact that the medical event is depicted, that portion of the video is not subject to public dissemination pursuant. And then there's a law, it's probably the HIPAA law. My question is, okay, well, let's see what happened before that. Let's put that out there. Why not show that? It's like they're kind of taking this whole video, putting it under the HIPAA law and saying, yeah, you're not going to be able to get it. You're not going to be able to see it.
Yeah, it's in play. Yeah, it's in play as part of the full investigation. The question that I had when the story first broke was, who's in possession of that? Was it the DA's office that initially secured that video? Again, you're talking potential evidence that could be introduced into a court of law. So the video is a big deal. The video is a massive part of this investigation by Attorney Meyer. So it's going to be protected. It's no elements of it. Not even a second of it is going to be viewed, and that's just kind of the standard practice and protocol of things.
But at least tells us here, and this is what I actually like from the response. It tells us that there are. I'm trying to put this into words. The video seems like it's got some length to it, because we know that whatever the incident was, the attack or the exercise, whatever it may be, that is there. And then we're also seeing the response from the medical staff as well. So there's got to be some length in this video. There's a couple of portions to it. Maybe there's a preemptive. If this is the exercise, we have kind of the lead up to what happened. We may see that this got out of control. And when it got out of control, did we see that anybody stopped it? And again, I'm just speculating here. And then we're going to see towards that end of the video, the medical response. It's interesting. It is interesting. And it's got my curious mind going now. Like, okay, well, what are we going to see? Unfortunately, like you said, we're not going to see any portions of it. We're going to have to wait this out for the investigation to come out. It just boggles my mind. What is it?
Yeah.
What's on there?
And to your point again, Brian, we were talking about in the spirit of transparency, because there is a video floating around out there, it's going to be very difficult to try and suppress or hide anything. So that's just another layer that is going to force transparency. Yeah.
No, I agree. And I'll just read a quote from one of my viewers. They feel like they're hiding behind the HIPAA law. And it says, he obviously passed all the physical requirements, meaning Trooper Garcia. He obviously passed all the physical requirements to join the Mass State Police. He didn't have any underlying conditions. Any conditions they report to show on the tape could have been caused by head trauma. They're going to try to take bits and pieces to fit their narrative. I stand in my opinion that this had nothing to do with a boxing match. I don't care what they, quote, allow us to see. And again, this is how the public and my viewers are feeling right now.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have answers. We don't have information. So, that position is understandable. But again, there's a lot of information that we're all waiting for. And when that information is released, it'll give us a chance to start to pull back the layers.
Yeah. No, I agree. Todd, look, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your expertise, your opinions. I want to keep following up with you as I continue to still, dig deep into this. Again, we're only cracking the surface layer here. Hopefully we start getting some answers soon. I would like that. I'd love for the DOJ to step in if they can at a necessary point in this investigation. And my hope is that, David Meyer does a good, fully transparent job in fact-finding, putting the reports out there. If there is any criminal or just even what happened in general in this case, because we're frustrated. The citizens of Massachusetts want to know answers because we don't want to keep sending recruits through that academy, and this possibly could happen again. And like I said, this can never, ever happen again. It just can't happen.
Yeah. Brian, always a pleasure. Thank you for your platform. Thank you for all that you do. Looking forward to our next conversation.
Great. Thank you, Todd. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate you following up with us over this last hour, getting some information and perspective from Todd McGhee, veteran retired Mass State Police. I really enjoy conversations with him and how Todd's the guy that's just going to play it down the middle, like he said, and I respect that, and I love when he joins the show. Tomorrow night, I'm going to let everybody know I'm going to have Mizzy in here talking the Sandra Birchmore case. She's going to be live in studio. We're going to have a great conversation about that. I'm looking forward to it. And when this ends, it will take you right over to that live. You can set your reminders, and we'll be back here live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I also want to do this. If you didn't catch it earlier, I have actually decided to move into a larger studio. So I am going to be taking possession of that studio on November 1st. I'm super excited. It's going to allow me to expand what I want to continue to do here and open up. It's just really small in this room and I need a larger space. So my landlord approached me and said, hey, I have this suite that's opening up. It's going to give me 2 rooms in that suite, 2 larger spaces to work with. And, I want to get like a couch in there so we can have people come in and sit down and have more of a natural kind of sit down environment, relax a little bit, and have some face-to-face conversations. So I'm super excited about that, but that will happen on November 1st. It's going to take me a little bit to build out the studio, but we'll make it happen, and you'll all be part of it. And we'll just continue to keep growing the LTL platform. And like I was saying earlier, I've put some posts out there. This would not happen without all of you. So I appreciate all the subscribers, the moderators, the Go Squad members. That really keeps this channel spinning and going. So let's continue to keep growing this platform, getting the truth out there, talking about these cases, not being afraid to say things, because we have the right here under the First Amendment right to speak and put our thoughts and opinions out there. So I will be, like I said, I will be on tomorrow night with Mizzy, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope you all can join us. She'll be live in studio, and we'll talk Sandra Birchmore. I love all of you. Thank you for being here. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thumbs up this. Let's try to get to 1,000 likes when this posts, and I really would appreciate it. All right, everybody, I'm going to head out of here. Thank you for spending this hour with me and Todd. I'll see you tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Goodbye.